The infantry battle is becoming impossible for Russia. So Russia is diverting elsewhere and it's concentrating on the weak points. And that's why the Baltic countries seem to now to be the target.
Denmark's Prime Minister has described the suspected Russian drone incursion into Danish airspace as the most serious attack on Danish critical infrastructure so far. Dozens of flights were affected after multiple large drones were spotted last night. I can talk to Robert Fox, the defence editor at the Evening Standard. Hi to you, Robert.
Hello.
Well, good to have you here, Robert. I presume it's perfectly possible to identify these drones as Russian.
It's going to take some time. The thing that worried them, both the Danes and the Norwegians, where two large drones were spotted over an important military airbase. So that led to the closing or the suspension of activity at the commercial airport at Oslo, is that drones of that size are usually military, A. And B, of course, this is now forming a pattern of surveillance or probing or just plain testing activity. We had the drones over Poland, a single drone over Romania, and then we had the three MiG-31s, very sophisticated aircraft, flying, skirting around Estonian airspace, largely over the sea, but it was territorial airspace, probing down the Baltic, and now Denmark and Norway. Why Denmark and Norway?
Yeah.
They are actually the big backers. They are disproportionate to their size in supporting the frontline states of NATO as things are becoming increasingly tense for the NATO partners over the Ukraine war.
Right, so what is going on here, in your judgment, Robert? I mean, drones into Poland, we've had jets into Estonia, now drones into Danish airspace. Russia has been regularly testing NATO defences for years, hasn't it? They've been cutting undersea cables. So is this an enhanced threat, or is it more of the same?
It's enhanced more of the same.
Yeah.
In that the war is terrible in Ukraine, and Putin claims to have brought Ukraine to breaking point serially. But things are not going well for such an enormous army with overwhelming advantage in numbers in Ukraine. We take the name which is now becoming well known, like Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk in the northern Donetsk pocket was supposed to have been taken nearly 18 months ago. Why is it that they go in and out and you have counterattacks from Ukrainians? It's a very interesting development of the drone war. I'd just like to add that this kind of very nasty conventional war, as it is so far, has a lot of the very, very old about it and the very, very new. The very, very new is AI, surveillance, drones. We know all about it. The very old is that however much you blast away and destroy things, you've got to seize, capture, and hold ground. And that means people, and that means infantry. Yeah. And the infantry battle is becoming impossible for Russia. So Russia is diverting elsewhere, and it's concentrating on the weak points. And that's why the Baltic countries seem to now to be the target, and their immediate supporters, Poland, Finland, and then behind them Sweden. But above all, Denmark and Norway. Denmark has been remarkably active.
Right, so look, if this then is more of the familiar from Russia, what is NATO to do? I think, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, I think I saw the North Atlantic Council's meeting, the decision-making body in NATO. What would they be talking about? What could they do now or next?
It's a Chapter 4 meeting. There was one called by Poland after the 19 or 23 drones, it's not quite clear how many, flew into their space on the 9th of September. And then with the latest incursion of the MiG-21s, which is rather serious because it was serious because they were tooled up, they were armed, and it was serious because they switched their transponders off. It was a deliberate stealth mission, probing. Now, Chapter 4, which is different from Chapter 5, which is the Mutual Defence Agreement, it's the three musketeers, all for one and one for all. If a NATO partner is attacked, everybody has to respond. Now, the Americans have made it, the Trump Americans made it clear it doesn't go for that. Right. So Chapter 4 says how the allies get together in their own mutual defence in their area. And this is where we got Eastern Sentry, and Britain sent 2 Typhoons, and there's discussion of building a drone wall. But if what we infer from this, particularly from statements from Putin, but above all from Lavrov, the foreign minister, and the former prime minister and president, Medvedev, it does look as if Russia is aiming at the Baltic states.
Yeah.
They claim that they were part of Russia always. They are also NATO partners. And I think it's now looking very ugly. And this is where the big crisis could come, and within months.
Right. So, look, we heard yesterday the British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper warning that NATO was ready to act if pressed. We've heard the Polish leader Donald Tusk a couple of days before saying that Poland might be ready to shoot down a Russian jet. I mean, do you think it's going to come to that? Will it come to that, Robert? And if it does, are we now talking about a major escalation?
Will it conditionals? John, I'm absolutely with you. And I think that what you've got right into the spirit of this thing. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a chapter of accidents. And that's what really worries me. A shoot down which goes badly. I think it's quite likely something will be shot down, by the way, if it goes on at this tempo over the next 6 weeks. If that happens, then the wrong chapter of accidents could unfold. And we've heard Yvette Cooper, as you rightly saying, NATO is ready. No, NATO isn't ready.
Right.
Let's be absolutely plain about that. Britain sent 2 Typhoons. It's probably got about a couple more it can send out of Coningsby. It's only got about 17, 18 Typhoons fully battle, that is operationally ready, according to my friend Francis Tuser of Defence Analysis. And he is the real spotter of these. And 6 of those will be committed to Cyprus, and a few more, 1 or 2 more, possibly in the Falklands. We're very, very thin just looking at the UK. And France isn't that much better, and Germany is about to spend an awful lot more, but it's only about to. It hasn't done it. And this is the problem with our planning and preparation. It's too much jam tomorrow, or jam possibly over the mountain and far away, never, never, because you look at the defence review, it has said the big spend's going to come in the 2030s. What we got to work out is how we deal with the problem which is now. And I'm afraid Russia is becoming an ever bigger problem now.
The last question. Just a moment ago, you seemed to suggest that the NATO partners on this side of the Atlantic were now pretty much accepting that if it came to it, an escalation, then America, Donald Trump's America, would not be there. Is that now the clear assumption?
America is saying that it would help. It's got 10,000 troops in Eastern Europe. But the narrative, if we have to do it in ascending order of Hegseth, Vance and Trump, is no, they wouldn't. And this is quite clearly what the Putin strategy is to split America away from Europe. Europe now has to be the main backer of Ukraine. In fact, it's overtaken America in actually quantity of supply. America is vital, by the way, for communication and intelligence, and this is what the game is. There's even been the suggestion that that from Lavrov that they could reopen or continue the lovely dialogue between Putin and Trump at Alaska, provided they don't talk about Ukraine. They talk about mutual interest, development, and so on. And meanwhile, I think what also drives to a crisis very quickly, has to come in, is the attacks on Russian pipelines, refineries, gas lines. Because once the winter comes, once you get destruction plus freezing of broken structures, they're in trouble.
Robert, well, I won't say it's a pleasure to talk to you, but it's always fascinating. Robert, thank you so much for coming on the programme, as always.
Thank you, Doug.